What do we need to do next? We need to create a massive network of labs for skilling and innovation. Skilling is a new word. It's become a new verb that everyone is falling in love with these days. What do we want to do? And we are on the verge of doing it. There are companies that are doing it. We have established labs in 27 schools so far. And all these labs are capable of allowing children to do hundreds of experiments at a time. We have a large repository of robotics activities, electronics activities that we simply transfer to schools, and schools are able to reproduce those activities. And we also need a large number of college labs at the degree level and engineering college level. And universities should also take a strong interest in developing electronics labs. There should be mobile labs. I'm sure there are science labs that I've seen, lab on wheels and things like that, right? We want to create, as part of the ecosystem, a mobile lab, a bus that can carry the entire electronic equipment. We can park it somewhere. Children will come, do a lot of experiments. We have the necessary manuals for that. We'll do a lot of experiments, and then the bus moves on to another destination. We need to establish community labs. Community labs are, you can think of community halls, right? That are there in every city. They are everywhere. In every small community, there's a community hall. And if we can establish labs in those communities where children from those local communities can come together and do something hands-on, touch and feel, and hands-on activities that they can do. And I'm also thinking in terms of portable labs. Portable lab is different from a mobile lab. Mobile lab, everything sits in one place. Imagine now I have a large lab equipment that is ready to go. We can loan this lab to a school or a college or a university, and this lab can be assembled in a matter of a few hours or few minutes. Everything is set up, and then we will loan it to them for a month or so, and then after that we put it back in one big box, take it to another place and place it in another place, and so on. There are tons of ideas on how we can create a very large network of labs for skilling and innovation. Not only do we need these labs, we also need them to be constantly upgraded. Now, we also need to establish a strong collaboration between the academia and industry and nurture and develop it. This is where government policies will help. This is where governments can help. We have the universities that will carry a social responsibility of conducting thorough education in the field of electronics. They should also be doing a lot of research. Research should lead to innovation in the industry, and industry in terms has social responsibility to connect back to the university and provide adequate grants for more and more research, so that more and more research will translate into more and more innovation. Education should lead to talent, not just jobs. A strong talent that industry needs must be produced by the universities. So this is another step in the whole scheme of things to establish a strong ecosystem. We need to continuously identify where there is a great demand and potential for growth. Home automation, Internet of Things, Industry 4.0, electrical vehicles, all these things are going to be very big. Like I said, umpteen number of times during this talk, India has a strong appetite for all of these things. And if India can develop its own industry to cater to the needs of the society, we will be keeping the money in our own country. And that's what we should be doing. When we take these key areas, merge them back with the previous slides that we have, industry collaboration, labs that we established, everything should sink into these four areas, or maybe other areas that will come up over a period of time. And these are the things that we should be constantly looping back in. We need the labs, we need the colleges, we need the schools, we need the universities, and they all should tie in with appropriate collaboration, appropriate feedback system, so that the entire system, the ecosystem survives and nurtures and grows on its own. Okay, now finally, we should be able to spawn a cottage system of electronic startups. You see in this picture, this is my favorite one. India is capable of producing things at a very massive level, but when you look at the things, how they are operating, how they are working, you'll notice that there are small industries. For example, the toy industry that is in India, the sari industry, the saris that come up in India, various types of saris available throughout, depending on if you're from Varanasi or AP or Tamil Nadu, there are different varieties of saris that India can make, right? So it's a cottage industry. That means any few people, a few people, 4 or 5 people can come together and assemble an industry that can make toys. They can assemble an industry that can create handicrafts. They can assemble an industry that they can produce beautiful saris, beautiful home decor items, right? If they can do that, can we extend the electronic industry, and can we bring the electronic industry to such a state where 4 or 5 people, or even maybe 10 people, come together and produce something magical? Okay, so this is what I think. If we can integrate our cottage industry, if we can think of our cottage industry and extend the same mobility, same attraction, and same everything to the electronic items, why can't we produce our own sensors? The world is producing sensors. Most of them are coming from China or Taiwan. If we produce them, let's say 10 people come together, they figure out how to create a small item that looks like this. There's a small sensor that we built, that we purchased, and this probably comes from China. If something like this can be produced by 10 people who come together, and they can produce thousands of them, they need a small investment, and when they start building it, we'll stop importing something like this from other countries. Like that, there are tons and tons of items that India can produce on its own without depending on other countries, and these things do not cost a lot of money. Semiconductor industry, big microprocessors, they require a lot of money, but not these. These are very small things that India can produce in large quantities on its own. So that's a new India. I'm thinking about spawning of a cottage industry along those lines for electronic startups also. So those are the things. Can India be a net exporter in electronics and semiconductor space in the future? The same question was asked about our space industry. Will India ever be able to launch a rocket? The answer was no, about 4 decades back. Now we have Mangalyaan. India's ballistic missiles. India could not produce a rocket on its own. We produce them. We have a rocket that can go 5,000 kilometers and beyond. We have a very massive infrastructure. The roads in India are much, much better today than what we can think of in the past. India was asked a lot of these questions. Initially, the answer was no, but we produce them. The same thing with wheat industry I talked about. We are exporting wheat and food items to other countries. We're doing the same thing with our fighter jets. We are producing our own fighter jets. At one time, when people were asked this question, can India produce fighter jets? The answer was no, but we produce them. And therefore, we are capable of doing it. And what is next is a very strong electronics and semiconductor industry.